How do you find your processes? Look for repetitive patterns of behavior. While the cycle time may span days or months, all processes still involve doing a series of steps repetitively. Identify activities you do on a regular basis. While the steps may not seem obvious, the things you spend a lot of time on doing are processes nonetheless. Look for the outcomes that you produce. If you can find the things you produce, you can work backwards to find the processes that produce them. Remember, all work is a process. As I stated earlier, many people I meet struggle to even define the key processes they own. If all work is a process, however, as Philip Crosby said years ago, then everyone in an organization is either part of and often owns at least one process. How do you find the processes you are a part of or own? Well, it's actually pretty easy to do. All you have to do is look for the repetitive things you do each day. For example, many people spend time going to meetings, answering, writing, and deleting emails and texts, making and taking telephone calls, and working on projects each day. Each of these activities represents a process, and if you wanted to, it would not take a lot of effort to draw a workflow diagram for each of these activities. Each of these activities has an identifiable starting and stopping point. Tangible outcomes, including process waste, can be defined for these processes. The cycle time, cost, and customer satisfaction levels for each of these processes can be measured and trended over time, even if it's not a culturally accepted practice to do so. Decision-making is also a process. So are service activities such as renting a car or hotel room to someone. Driving to and from work each day is a process. Processes are all around us. In actuality, processes are what we count on to give our lives stability and predictability. Unfortunately, for some reason, we've adopted the notion that not all processes need to be subjected to the same scrutiny and improvement expectations that frontline processes are. We ignore the fact that all processes produce results that can be trended over time. We ignore high waste levels that exist in many of our processes. We continue to do repetitive things each day that don't really add value from the customer's perspective. Habits and processes are essentially the same thing, repeated patterns of behavior. Now, if you can find your habits, you can probably find your processes. What are your daily work habits? How many processes do you own? Is it starting to become easier to see how all work is a process? The anatomy of a process. A process can be thought of as a series of steps that are executed on a repeated basis to achieve a set of performance outcomes. We are creatures of habit, and our habits are our processes. We have habits that we repeatedly use at home, at work, and even at play. We often don't consciously think a lot about our processes unless prompted to do so, simply because executing them has become so integrated into our daily lives. This is why formal process definition is such an important, foundational step on the road to process excellence. Defining the series of steps that make up a process is your first step in process definition, but many other factors need to be considered as well. In the above diagram, 7 such factors are shown. Process map. The process map provides a visual presentation of a process's steps. Decision and hold points are often included on a process map, along with process inputs and outputs. Suppliers. All key suppliers should be identified and integrated into a well-deployed supplier management process that includes requirements, effectiveness measures, and a formal certification process. Process owners. Process owners should be clearly identified. Regular responsibilities for process owners must also be defined and managed consistently at all levels in the organization. Customers. Internal and external customer requirements should be defined, along with measures to allow the monitoring of progress in meeting their expectations. Work instructions. The series of steps that make up a process also constitute the most basic form of work instructions. Failure mode effect analysis and job hazard analysis results may also be used daily as processes are executed to help avoid potential memory loss errors. Process vital signs. Vital signs are those 4 to 6 key measures, usually ratios, that are monitored to gauge process health. Each strategic performance area is represented in a set of vital signs. Improvement plan. Every process should have a dynamic improvement plan, a plan that is updated at a minimum weekly as ideas are entered and implemented. Ideally, all team members can contribute to the idea database and are involved consistently with idea identification, triage, development, and implementation. How defined are your key processes? Process definition blueprints, like the one shown here, are a common tool used by essentially all organizations that are sincere about pursuing process excellence. By working together as a group to create this simple blueprint, a leadership team can gain a much greater perspective on why they do what they do each day. The blueprint helps you better identify each key process in your value stream. Plus, its completion requires you to define the key customer requirements and process measures for each functional group in both the value creation and support process areas in your facility. A key question to consider here is, can you define all the work processes in your organization? Many organizations have never completed such a blueprint. They may measure each day, but the connections between these measures and the requirements of their internal or external customers may not be recognized. Additionally, it's often the case that many key processes are not measured at all. No means for gauging improvement over time really exists. The best results from completing this simple table are gained when each process owner is expected to define their own row or rows in the table. After completing the table, it can be shared with others to help send a more consistent message about why we do what we do. Who are our customers? What do they expect? The information contained in the blueprint should be aligned with and serve as the basis for the setup of other performance improvement tools, such as customer satisfaction scorecards and balance scorecards. Since all work is a process, the process definition blueprint helps define 1, what you do each day, 2, why you do it, and 3, how you can tell if you have been successful or not. Similar charts can be constructed for those processes that exist to support value stream processes. Example support processes include supplier management, human resources, purchasing, leadership, finance, information technology, engineering, and maintenance. Value stream maps show the big picture. Once your process definition blueprint is complete, you can use those process details to begin value stream map construction. This example value stream map represents a bottling operation. The production process shown has 4 key steps: batching, filling cap, labeling, and packing. Plus, process boxes are shown for a shipping process and a scheduling process. In the example, 2 key raw material inputs are shown. Other materials are also used to make this product, but the 2 inputs shown reflect the raw materials that make up the greatest percentage of costs and require the most floor space and material movements. Notice how certain icons, such as those associated with inventory levels, production standards, and staffing levels, have been repeatedly used on the map. You should be able to easily see from this map how information and material flows in this facility. This map should help you better understand how the different processes work together, even if you have never been in a bottling plant. You should be able to look at this map and find some problem areas where inventory, rework, or waste levels might seem high. You can also spot the spot in the value stream, packaging, where the current bottleneck is. Take a minute to look at this chart. Where do you think improvement is needed to improve this value stream? Can you easily spot the process step that contains the highest waste, rework, and downtime levels? How could the use of customer-specific value stream maps help you more effectively spot and diagnose problems in consistently meeting customer needs? Does this chart help you easily spot where the bottleneck is and the degree of improvement that is needed to improve product or service flow? What are the benefits you could gain from using a similar diagram in your facility? Use flowcharts to define processes. Most flowcharts are made up of action boxes and decision diamonds. All processes should have a current state flowchart. For improvement, create an ideal state flowchart. Swim lane flowcharts can be used to show simultaneous tasks by multiple people. A flowchart or workflow diagram can be created for any process. The easiest way to begin drawing a workflow diagram is to find the procedure that may have been written for the process. Procedures are helpful for drawing process maps because they list the steps that are to be followed as a given process is executed. If you don't have a procedure or work instructions for the process you want to map, begin by simply drawing a box for each process step that you follow and describing that step inside the box. Don't feel like you have to have the process 100% accurate in your mind before you start drawing it. This is where software packages like Visio or PowerPoint can help. They allow you to start putting things down on the digital workspace and then moving them around as the process steps become clearer. You can also get started by simply listing the steps that are involved with executing the process. Each step listed would be a box in the workflow diagram. In addition to identifying process steps, you should also try to identify key decisions that are made as the process is executed. Decision diamonds, similar to those shown in the above example, are used to indicate where a decision is required and the process paths that are to be followed based on the outcome of the decision. Decision diamonds don't always have to have yes or no branches. You can also have branches based on process parameters, such as dimensions or temperatures. It is more important to create a flowchart for each key process before you begin to attempt to use more sophisticated process mapping approaches like swim lanes. Practice by drawing simple maps first and use a little research to help you learn more about other mapping approaches. I bet you'll learn a lot just from creating some basic workflow diagrams.